Don lives in like Jacksonville, St. Augustine, Florida area, and I actually worked with him out of his home office for like about a year,
That's
and
cool.
then it was just more like to have some like hands-on, just to like learn
Yep.
some stuff that's easier in person. Now I just roll out of my home office.
Nice.
Which is nice, but yeah, the actual like Revere Asset like office is in Dallas,
Okay.
but like there's like two people in there, and I don't even think they go very often.
Gotcha. Just documents and stuff like none of the
Exactly,
training. Yeah. Okay.
exactly. People want to see a location for a.
I'm
Yeah.
picturing
So,
that.
yeah.
Nah.
Welcome in.
Um, let me know when you got the recording going.
Dude, TSCR is like your biggest fanboy, Connor. That's
Dude,
no joke.
I love you, Connor Bates. You're the
Ah,
man.
I
Dude,
love
he
you
says it
guys
all the
too.
time. He's like, dude, I'm Connor's biggest fan. I love his account. He's like, you're like his favorite account on Twitter. It's amazing. I love it.
Dude, you are. I mean, I mean, I don't know if you need me to pump your tires, but I love the videos you guys put out every day.
Yeah,
Specifically yours, Connor.
thank you.
And then the data. I mean,
Yeah,
like
no,
it's just super valuable.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of like I just treat my Twitter like my own journal. It's like it's stuff that I find useful, and it's like I'll post it because like then that way I can look back at it as well, and then if people find value in it, even better.
Yeah,
Wow,
dude.
Wild Versace in the attendees. You don't see that often.
Oh, he's probably here because of me.
100%.
I know Versace in real life.
Of course.
He's exactly how
I was just
you would
about to
ex
ask. He's got
he's
to be just
he's a
exactly how.
he's a carbon copy, just like he is in his channel.
Yes. I knew it. Oh, I'd have been really
Nice.
disappointed if I'd met him and he was just like a quiet, like,
Oh, if anything, he's more exaggerated in person, if you can believe it.
I absolutely believe it.
All
Let's
right, all
go.
right, all right. Let's get this started. We got a good crowd here. We got a good crowd. We
All
got the
right, Brocco,
recording
you want to
started.
take us away?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, welcome guys. We actually got a pretty good crowd. This is good. We finally got Connor Bates coming on for a nice little interview slash workshop today. We've actually, I mean, we've been wanting to get this going for like a while now. We kind of found like the
Yeah.
perfect time to set it up. Um, he's gonna break down a videos report for us tonight. No, I'm just kidding. But no, this is gonna be awesome. I know you guys all are. Most of you guys are aware of Connor. He's pretty big on Twitter. Always posting good stuff. And I guess, I mean, the way we kind of start off all of these is, asking how you got started in the markets or interested in the first place.
hmm Yeah, so probably similar to a lot of people, but well, originally, like what sparked my interest in the markets is probably like high school. It's kind of cliche, but had a stock market simulator class, load up your $1 million portfolio and like, I don't know, I was like 16, 17, and I found it
Yeah.
super interesting. Had my dad give me $1,000 just because I wanted to like play around with the market, buy a couple of shares of Apple. So that's like kind of like how I initially got just watching the stock market, and that was in high school. It always fascinated me from the get-go, so that was a thing. And then freshman year of college, I was I just finished my first semester and I was, playing around with the market in my free time, but I was also playing Division 1 soccer. So my schedule was packed, like with full credits and playing Division 1 soccer was a lot. But COVID hit, and as a lot of people got into the market then, and when I got sent home, I had the whole day and I really just took full advantage. I fell in love with the markets and I just kind of spent like I had nothing else to do, so might as well be productive with the time. So that's really what kickstarted me getting into the market. I had all this time and I just kind of spent my whole days trading, blowing up accounts, trying to figure out, going on Twitter, just really trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And how I first started in the markets was just primarily trading SPACs. So I
Yeah.
always say,
No way.
yeah, I feel like I always had a concept of risk management because what I would do is, I would look for a SPAC that like would get had a merger potentially that was close to the $10 NAV floor, and I would just load it up, and you virtually had like 10, depending on where you got it. If you got it near 10, it was like this is literally a risk-free trade, and if it works, I'm gonna double my money. So like really like I did that for a little bit, just and then just trying to learn the market. And granted, this was when I was like a freshman in college. So I was like 17 at the time. And then, and then the bubble, I was just trading, all the meme stocks like everyone else, had no idea what I was doing, thought I was a market wizard, probably like a lot of other people.
Yeah.
And then once SPACs stopped working and like kind of like the growth stocks topped, I that's when I kind of started taking like trying to figure out what to do. And along those lines, that's when I found like How to Make Money in Stocks was one of the first books that I read. And I think, it's a top three most important book. It's what I suggest anyone that gets started in the markets. And so I just kind of went down that avenue, how to make money in stocks. Did all like the market smith at the time chart schools, did
Nice.
everything. Just studied all like the IBD guys, and then I found Qual McGee. I watched every single stream ever. Was doing that, studying Dan Zanger, read all Mark Minervini books, all the Market Wizard books. So really just kind of like that was kind of like how I got into the market. And believe it or not, in 2022, although I was a newbie, I read Stan Weinstein's Stage Analysis book, and I actually didn't get hurt throughout that because I was looking at all these growth charts, and I was like, these are all stage three tops heading in stage four. So actually, when growth got crushed, I never had like a hold the bag mentality, like I always like right from the beginning, like having stop losses and cutting stuff like that was never an issue. So believe it or not, I was actually short like ARK and stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah, and then just like through the years, then I just really started making the style my own. And
So you actually had a pretty good start.
yeah, pretty good start. Well, once the SPAC craze died, I had a drawdown, and like anyone, blew a
For sure.
couple accounts until, you just really figure out like you don't really have any idea what you're doing, and that you need to like find a system, find an edge. And that's what I spent probably the next year and a half. And, still trying to get better every day, but definitely found my edge, my process, my system. And it was largely from the teachings of William O'Neill, Mark Minervini, Qual Maggie, Dan Zanger, all those guys.
You just
How
got a
long?
big blend from
When did you
everything. That's
start
cool.
with Revere?
So I graduated college in 2023, and I started right away. So I was trading all throughout college. It was my last semester, and I was always on X throughout this, but I believe my account was anonymous. So I maybe had like a couple thousand followers, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Like thought about, just trade my own account, that avenue. But again, like we were talking before, when you have to pay, a couple $1,000s in rent, you're young, you haven't like went through enough market cycles. It just didn't make sense. So what I did was I just cold called, cold DM'd like every like investment advisor, hedge fund that I can find. I didn't hear from any really. Revere was like one of the few that got back to me. Or so actually step back. This was when I was in college. So Revere got back to me, and I kind of like intern, quote unquote, when I was in college. So, I would write a market report every morning and then post market report.
Nice.
And that was kind of like my internship and just like setting my trades. What am I watching for that day? Stuff like that. And then when I graduated in 2023, I started full time. And I started managing like just some like house firm money from Dan and Don. And then at the beginning of this year, that's when we launched TurboTection, which is like the newest fund that Revere has that myself and Ted co-manage right now. And the main fund's Growtection, which Don manages, but now it's Growtection and TurboTection.
When you say Don manages, what input do you have over there, like as like a group analysis or anything like that?
Yeah, so we do like a morning call every morning. Everyone talks about like goes over the positions in their portfolio, what they're watching, and then we're just like talking all day. We'll have a afternoon call where we just kind of talk about the markets, what we traded, what we're seeing, and we're kind of all looking at similar stocks. And
Mhm.
if we buy stuff, we tell each other stuff like that. And like if I really like something, I'd be like, hey Don, like think this is a really big opportunity or vice versa, stuff like that. It's a super open communication.
Nice. Nice. Um, Now, you went through kind of some of your early years. This year specifically, what's been one of the challenges? What's been one of the toughest things of 2025? This is, all encompassing going back from the January to March distribution, all the
Yeah.
way to now. What's been the toughest thing this year?
Yes. Um, so I would say like the tariff tantrum, that downtrend was relatively easy to manage. It was easy not to be a buyer of stocks throughout that. And there were some pretty clear shorts like semiconductors, stuff like that. And then even the bottom, that was like, you had capitulation off the low. You had your classic like three gap downs in a row, huge volume, max fear. I remember I did a big tweet and it got featured in Market Watch, and it was a tweet of like every like secondary breath indicator that I use. And I was saying like I've never seen everything at the same time so oversold.
It was insane.
Um yeah, it was truly insane. Like everything. Like now, like for example, not to get off track, but now like you have a lot of like one indicator says this, the other says
Hmm.
this. So it's not like
Yeah.
it's not fluid. Like, you have CNN fear and greed in single digits, but NAM was just 100. So it's just a lot of conflicting signals. But so that was off the low. I think the hardest thing would just be like how choppy some of the names were. I think it's been a year that buying weakness has fared a lot better than buying strength. And there's been a lot of stocks that I've been on early and I've just gotten stopped out and they've gone higher. And and like off the April low, like that's when like breakouts work the best. And they always typically work the best after a big market correction. And then, since then, like I just think some of the chop has been the most challenging thing for me, at least. I don't know if what you guys think. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that too.
Oh yeah, I mean for me personally, it was it's been like the ones that got away, right? Those leaders that you knew and you had, and like dang risk management commitment, kind of
Yeah.
got in the way of being able to ride that. And and then of course like recently, like you said, kind of the conflicting signals of am I supposed to do, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? It
Yeah.
always makes me revert back to, simplicity. What is one or two of the ones that got away where if you could do it over maybe May to September or May to October that you would have not have gotten stopped out of, or you would have bought more of, or you would have, initiated? What's the one that
Yeah.
got away?
Yeah, no, one that stands out is so I was thinking I was trying to prepare some material and I was just going through some old trades. And so CoreWeave's definitely one. So if you go to that chart, so I was buying that at like $43 at the low end of the space.
Hmm.
And right there, the 29th, I think, is that the day? Um,
Yep.
yeah, so like I was buying it in there, and I got, it was just a perfect it. I was using the Preston, it was like Google's IPO setup, and I was trying it in there, but I just had too big size and I got stopped out. And then if you go forward, and then there was a couple other times that I tried it in there too, and like right that red candle too, like go back. It was, yeah, right there. Like I bought it like 3 days prior to that, and that was another day that I got stopped out. So, that was one that stung because it just went on a, insane run
Same
after I
exact thing with
sold.
Flanders when we had him on. He said this was his biggest miss this year.
Yeah, and it
He
it had
oversized
like
in here. Yep.
exactly, and it had everything, and it's just kind of in the moment when the market was shaky too. This is a new IPO. It looked like it could kind of roll over, and I just kind of had a tight stop loss on it. That was definitely a big one, because it just went on a massive move. Another one was, I, I got stopped out of Rocket Lab pretty early.
Wow.
I was buying Rocket Lab like 6.9, around then, as it was kind of coming around, and I kind of got stopped out on 6.13. That was the day I got stopped out of, when it was breaking the 21. And yeah, like if you keep the chart right there, like it just did not look good.
Yep.
And then granted, it just comes right back up, and shot right back up to 50. So that was definitely a miss.
Oh,
Um, and just some lessons like you learn, like don't be afraid to buy something back. Like I kind of made rules for that after seeing these. But I mean, those two are notable. There's definitely been more. Like most recently, like I was shorting MSTR at 325 and I got stopped out too. I shorted it. I bought MSTZ. I bought that on 924, and you can see like I caught that breakdown day, and I
wow.
was like, this is looking very promising.
Perfect.
Um, yeah, just perfect. And then that's when Bitcoin decided to rip back up, and then obviously
Yeah.
went back up to 350. And it gave plenty of times to reshort it. I didn't, and now it's
That's the tough part about like a
181
short like this. Like there's relative weakness, but like any sort of continued like market rally, like it's going to hold up.
bucks.
And usually the time to short these, if the market's holding up, but on like a relatively weak name, you got to short them when like you really don't want to short them.
Exactly.
It's tough. It's
Exactly.
so tough.
And that rally was perfect because right when it wedged back up there, that was when the 50 crossed below the 200-day too. And
Yeah.
and you had that just kill candle. So yeah, honestly, like the biggest misses were just getting stopped out on some leaders um that maybe I shouldn't have, or my entry was just not good enough, and just not buying back. That definitely has been the most notable after reviewing a lot of trades from the year.
What would you say is like your your process, like what's your bread and butter kind of stock setup? What do you like to look for to like get most aggressive, like your kind of 5 star,
Yeah. So I tweeted this before, what like I would call like my super stock criterion, and like I can talk
Yes,
about
yes.
like I could talk like we'll just do BE, which I traded, which is an example. But like one is like just like a big base or something that has like nice momentum. So it's like either like a 5-star setup is something that's coming out of a massive base and I'm buying it out of it, or it's just like a leader that has a ton of momentum that I'm buying like a continuation setup. So like those would be the two like different baskets. And then number two would be strong theme, right? I talk about theme on my Twitter all the time, but to me it's just so important. So like it has to be like a big macro theme. Like I want to trade something that like has a reason to go up. Like I just don't think a stock chart is enough. You need something else, preferably Catalyst, which BE did have. Um, something new. I wouldn't say really BE had anything new, but this was an older company that was just turning profitable. They had 30% short interest with a massive base in the best theme in the market. And then, yeah, that's kind of like my bread and butter. And then like liquidity is important. I find the best moves. Like I have one simple scan. It's 100 million daily dollar volume with 6 ADR, and I can say 90% of like all the best moves just come from that scan. Liquid names that have good range. So like BE would be like what I would consider like a bread and butter setup. Yeah.
How'd you buy this?
So I bought this on August 20th at around like $45.
Very nice.
So after even then in the moment, I thought it was kind of late.
Hmm.
Um, but and then a different example would be like SanDisk. I'm still long this one right now. If you bring up that chart, now this would
Let's
fall under
go. Nice.
this would fall under the category of like this did have a big base and I missed it at 60, but like look how linear. So I bought this one on 10.15 at like 135. Um, and that was just a high tight flag breakout. And again, if I go through these stocks with that super stock criteria that I talk about, like all these meet this. This stock has a ton of momentum. It's the strongest theme in the market by a mile. The memory stocks, you have Seagate, Western Digital, Pure Storage was hanging in for a while. Um, something new like the shortage for these. This thing is ultra liquid. It's got a huge ADR. So again, like this would be one that just checks every box, and that's kind of how I came up with that. I'm not really reinventing the wheel. It's kind of like Cancelim-esque, but like it's not fully Cancelim because I want like explosive sales is important, explosive earnings is important, but I will trade something if it has like a super strong group, like an Oklo, or like I'll trade quantum computing stocks when they're moving just because, regardless of the poor fundamentals, there was a big theme, they had a ton of momentum and like, I mean, these are picture perfect charts that those base breakouts.
That is beautiful. Dude, that's SNDK buy. Do you bite your teeth while you're buying something like that or what?
Yeah.
Or is that easy for you?
No, no. I was biting my teeth because it felt absurdly extended.
Yeah.
Like even when I was buying it, but I was just like, you know, to me, it was a super clean setup. It was a pretty classic high tight flag. And
Hmm.
and when this setup happened, I'm just gonna pull up on my other monitor chart, the indexes. I believe they were super 10.15. Yeah, that was after like that 10.10 really ugly
Yeah, I got
candle.
it up here. Yeah,
And
right here.
like I know like that was in the back of my mind, like, that's a really nasty candle on the indexes. This is probably less likely to work, but I just trusted the setup and it worked. It easily could have failed, but it was a pretty low risk spot.
Yeah, they all these other names that goes with the memory names are all set up. I feel like I remember you
Yeah,
posting like all four of those charts like this exact day.
yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Yeah, these stocks are incredible. It's pretty amazing
Dude,
how,
when you go bar for bar, this was actually a much bigger move from that buy than I actually ever thought it was. That's
yeah,
insane.
it,
Holy
yeah.
shit.
It
And it
doubled.
still looks fine.
hmm I posted on X. I said people are probably not going to want to hear this, but this is kind of forming another high type flag, and like it is extended, but like I don't know. I could see this stock going to 350 pretty easily because it's also everyone wants to short this thing, like
Yeah.
everyone. That's
Yeah.
that's like I see Sanders posted all the time, but it's to short it, not to long it.
And you're still riding this. What is what does the sell program look like throughout the whole process?
Yeah, so I took some off 11.13 at like 235 on that kind of like downside candle, and
Yep.
now I'm just riding it with the 21 EMA, so about like 220 stop right now. And if it pulled back there and if it like stabilized, I would add. I wouldn't add on to it on strength anymore.
Sick. That is impressive. So this is you are your first sell from this was up there on this that red day on 11/13.
Correct, correct. And
Very
yeah, I
nice.
don't I don't use the cell rules can just vary like
Yep.
sometimes depending on I could look to like peel off, 3 to 5 days in the strength. I don't like if I really like the story, if I think I have a leader, I don't want to sell like after 5 days just cause I I it's a trade by trade basis, but sometimes I'll say like my first trim would be a close below the 10-day moving average or something like that. It kind of
Mhm.
varies on the setup and what my entry is, what it looks like on the weekly, stuff like that. And then I'm always trying to hold my last sell is always going to be defensive.
What would be would you trail a part of this up the 50 SMA like going into the early part of next year potentially?
It would have to
Yeah,
I
no, yeah, it
it
depends,
would
right?
have to be smaller size because when one thing I've noticed is like when you look at these charts, it's like, oh, you could have just tried with 50-day moving average and you caught the whole move. But like real time, when like the name gets super extended from the 50-day, it's like I don't want to hold all the way down to the 50-day and give back a good amount of the gain. So we'll see. I like the 10-week better for that. But even the 10 weeks at 170. So we'll see. If this overshot to over 300. I would potentially trim some more and then like kind of raise the stop. But for now, it's just using that 21 EMA.
Dude, very, very, very well done. I mean, what a great example of like getting into one of the best stocks of
Yeah, I was
this.
gonna say, it's amazing. I think you're the only person I know that's long this stock.
Yeah, I
Like, no
mean,
joke.
yeah, it's
Everyone
you know,
seems like they've just kind of been speculating on it or like shorting it.
yeah, it's everyone's been trying to short it. But yeah, I mean, the leaders are never hard to find. It's just, it can be hard to get into them. And yeah, it's like everyone knows the strongest stocks, but how can you get in there with tight risk, not get shaken out, stuff like that? That's always the hardest part of the puzzle.
Are you buying full size day one?
Yeah.
Nice.
You using like opening range break entry tactics and stuff?
Yeah, combination of stuff. Opening range or yes, varies, but yeah, typically. I typically like to wait. I buying the first 15, I just find sometimes doesn't work as well. You need to be in a strong marketing, especially VIX over 20. You do not want to buy, 5-minute opening range unless it's like a mean reversion trade like that.
So Connor, you're sitting there at your desk. It's 7:45 in the morning. You're scanning through your 100 million daily dollar volume and 6 ADR scan, looking for what's popping up in the market. What time frame are your eyes primarily focused on when you're doing that?
So when I'm scanning, I like to have the daily and weekly up. So I have them side by side and I just go through that. Yeah, like I scan on the daily and weekly, and then I'll look at the hourly for an entry sometimes, and then executing kind of on the 5-minute. That's kind of how it goes. I will look at monthly charts sometimes, but it's not really like a main aspect of my process. I mean, it's there, I'll look at it, but daily and weekly charts are the most important to me. And I like weekly charts a lot. I've been using them more, and they help. I just think it gives you a better picture, and it really takes a lot of noise out of the day-to-day action, especially if I have a lot of cushion on something. I'm gonna use the weekly more than the daily, but um, daily and weekly when I'm scanning.
Where are you placing stop loss orders on something like SNDK when you're buying it on 1014?
Yeah, so that one was just my stop was pretty much that the day's low. And I don't always do that. It just kind of depends, but for that one like a high type 5 breakout, like it shouldn't have came in. So it was kind of like my level was like 137 there. So that was like if it came back in, then it was kind of the trade isn't going to work. And then even that candle on 1017 looked a little it looks easy now, but real time, I can remember what I was feeling. Like it looked like it might come back in and close back below the pivot, but it was fine. But yeah, my stop was just kind of the top of that high type flag breakout, and then kind of just also using that low of the entry day.
Do you on something like this or even something like BE, would you how long are you sticking with that stop there or how quickly after it advances, let's say 8% or 10%, would you move your stop to break even or I know it's always a trade by trade basis, but generally or maybe on this example.
Yeah, so for this one, once it
Excuse me.
on like 1023, I think that's when I moved my stop up to break even. So like that kind of ignition day.
Mhm.
And it just kind of depends, but yeah, I like to move my stop to break even as quick as possible, but I don't there it's case by case situation because I found also that moving the stop up to break even too quickly can result in you getting shaken out of the trade. But again, it also depends on like what's in your portfolio. So like every day we have something, if you've seen the videos, you see we call that we have rebar, it's Revere estimated balance at risk. So every once before the market opens, I calculate all the stops of every position and some are staggered. But and then I have the balance at risk. So if every stop in the portfolio hit tomorrow, I know exactly what I'm gonna lose. And so that helps a lot. Like I
It's
don't
like your
really know
worst
that
case
many.
scenario.
Exactly. Worst case scenario. So, every day, like I know, like if the market went to crap, I know what I would lose. Obviously, I'm not factoring in for a gap down way below my stop, stuff like that. But give or take that, that doesn't happen often.
Mm.
And so it's like in the heat of the moment when, you know, the market's volatile, a lot of stops are hitting, what worst case scenario is. So you're less stressed, you're not acting, out of fear, out of emotion, and you already know where you're wrong on those. But yeah, like if there's a lot of open heat in the portfolio, I will on a new buy, like I will raise the stop to break even to reduce that risk. Because like in a hot market, your balance at risk can get pretty high if you're trying to hold for like big moves and these stocks are, 25% above the 50-day moving average or whatever you're trailing with.
Yeah, now on position sizing, are you like a linear bet sizing kind of guy? Like, are you gonna like linear pretty much bet all your trades like the same?
No, no. So like
You're not. Okay.
right now, like sizing's like 1/4 size until the conditions. And again, because it's choppy, it's like, I'll start with smaller size. And then if they start, it's just like kind of like Mark Minervini's progressive exposure.
Of course.
You
Yeah.
know, if they start to work, I'll increase the size and vice versa. And then something that I think is a 5-star setup, that's going to be my biggest size versus something that I
Like a
think's a good
BE, if you
setup.
can, you're gonna try to get more than you'd usually try to get.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's like I don't use the same size for everything. It varies based on conviction, market setup, feedback on recent trades, stuff like that.
What does what would be some of the criteria that you would use to define the general market conditions? Like you right now you say choppy market conditions. What are some supporting pieces of evidence that make these choppy conditions?
Yeah, so like number one, like I don't, it's pretty easy. Like S&P above, the 21 EMA, like that's like black and white, super simple trend gauge that, helps. So that's one thing. Like if the market's below the 21 EMA, it's just kind of like it's going to be a harder environment to trade. Number two, I like the NASI. So I post it all the time on Twitter,
Mm.
but that's like my favorite secondary breath indicator, and that's been on a sell signal for a while. So again, that's a negative. And then just like looking at the stocks, like the stocks to me are the most important. So like how are like the leaders holding up? How are the leading themes holding up? And if leaders are breaking down, themes are weakening, length and quality of my watch list. I got that from People Wish, but it's pretty easy to have an expectation of what the market's going to do when you go into the day because you do your scanning that night and if you have nothing on your list, then, expectation is not much is going to happen. Obviously, that can change. And then again, it's just like, how easy is it for me to come with focus lists? Like if I'm like staring at my charts super hard, like looking for setups, then it's just not a favorable market because as we all know, like in a hot market or just in like a good market for swing trading, position trading, you can there's an overwhelming amount of setups and you're not trying to convince yourself that this is a good setup. It's speaking to you, and right now there's not much of that, and that's typically the best thing. And I'll look at some other stuff like I like to look at FFTY, that's the IBD 50 index. That's a good proxy for growth stocks. And then I look at some other breadth indicators. I look at net new highs, new lows. I use the NAMO percent of stocks with a 5 day, but that's more like a short-term oscillator for, if it's super overbought, it might not be the best time to put on exposure, but vice versa. If it's oversold in an uptrend, that's really when you want to look for to put on new exposure. Um, but yeah, like if I had to like kind of getting off on a tangent here, but like number one, the trend of the index is, or sorry, number one, what's the action in leaders, trend of the indexes, and then kind of secondary breadth indicators that I just mentioned.
Nice. What do your mistakes look like? I mean, everybody's got flaws, right? What are some things that maybe you're trying to focus on, getting a little better at that you struggle with right now?
Yeah.
What do you suck at, bro?
Yeah, exactly. What do
I
you
suck
suck at?
I suck at a lot. It to me it's always becoming aware of the transition from a super hot market
Mhm.
to a choppy market. And it's funny because you always see it, but the market has a way of seducing you back in. And I'm sure you guys can relate, but even when just being aware and trusting your analysis, because it can be really hard that if you're starting to get a negative tone on the market and then you start to see a lot of things to rip, and it's like, yeah, they're setups, but are they the best setups? And then like, you know, it's just you kind of have FOMO, so you take that subpar setup, boom, you get chopped up in that one. So just trying to become aware when the market is entering a non-favorable period and reducing size quicker, because even if you want to still try to trade with a size that keeps your finger on the pulse but small enough where it's not really going to hurt your equity curve, because mental capital is so important, because if you just get chopped up, you're going to be drained once the market actually bottoms out. And so that would be like one of the main things that I'm just trying to improve on. And I think it just comes also with like market awareness, just also comes with time and whatnot. But even recently, like that 3 day push, like I remember when the S&P broke out on the 20 on 1024, I just was not feeling great about the market. Like I was struggling to find ideas.
Dude, that was
I
hard.
it
Like it
was
was it
super
was weird because the Nasdaq was like literally like back-to-back breakaway gaps, and like I couldn't figure out a way to get involved at all.
exactly.
Besides like longing like Apple. I don't want to do
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Like I couldn't find a way to get involved. And I remember before, like just like names like Palantir, like it just those were looking like stage 3 tops to me. And could not buy Palantir breakout through 190. Like that just was not a setup to me. And so it just felt like it was like the last like squeeze for big tech. And but that's an example of where like the market kind of seduces you in, because right, is all-time highs for the S&P 500 bearish? Not really. But the setups are weak, themes are weakening under the hood, and then now we can see what happened. It was obviously a fake move, and now we pulled back. So just kind of like recognizing those symbols and and having the awareness to just be more patient.
Yeah, that's really important, and it's something we talked about I think like a week or two ago, especially when I did my workshop about like specifically that moment when the Nasdaq was breaking out, because Nasdaq's making all-time highs, and like the power that it showed there, it's almost like you feel like you're doing something wrong, you
Yep,
know, even though
exactly.
like every hot growth name that like you made all your money on in September and October was like coming down the right side of the V, and
Yeah,
it was such a confusing time, and I think that's where the most damage can be done, right?
right.
Especially with like how like I feel like you asked Connor what like the hardest part of this year was, and I'd say one of the hardest parts, like I know I shouldn't succumb to this, but it still is hard. I feel like for anyone is like giving into or letting the noise having a little too much like factor in your head, like it's been so
Absolutely.
noisy. I feel like this year it feels like sentiment's been so 50-50 split, and like
Yep.
first time I feel like I've like heard so much of this bubble talk, and like I don't know, it can just kind of get to you sometimes. So I feel like blocking that out is like just so important, and it made it like extra hard during that period too, because I was like, man, shit, like am I missing, like is the market going to take off here and I'm not ready for it? And it was a tough time,
Hmm.
like that
Yeah.
1-2 week period for sure.
Yeah, it's like Yeah, there is a lot of bubble talk, but oh, I lost my train of thought. But what I was talking about is there's been so many similarities of like, January of 2025, and even like December of 2024. Like this is kind of what it feels like to me is like you can see like that January like 16th, 17th, 21st, like this year, that was like kind of what we had, like those three breakaway gaps of like, and it was just super choppy. And I remember I've done better in this chop than I did late 2024, 2020, early 2025. But yeah, you just never know how how long it can last. And I love that quote by Dan Zangers that you don't want to be in the market all the time. The market makes, maybe couple momentum runs a year where you'll make the bulk of your money, and then the rest of the time you need to focus on not giving away that money because it's just, every in a hot market, it's not that hard to do well, but it's hard to keep it when the tide turns.
That's like that's the game right there.
Exactly.
We can spot these. Like you said earlier, the leaders are hard to spot, or good, or sorry, easy to spot. The good setups are easy to spot. It's A, can you capitalize you know to completion kind of, and B, can you keep that money when the tides not fully shift, but they shifted.
Right.
Um, what you said something very subtle there, and I wanna ask a further question. Is you said you've handled this recently better than you did December into January of last year. What maybe specifically do you think you handled better recently than you did back then?
Just less trading, like
Okay.
like simple as that. Just, I say I really like something, and I can just sit there and watch it. If it works, cool. That's the market giving me feedback that okay, maybe I try the next one. Like, you don't have to be the first one in. And we've seen that so many times. If the market's going to turn around, there'll be plenty of opportunities. And so I've just really gotten better with patience. And it's funny because when I first started trading, I would seek out advice from anyone I could find. I would cold DMs so many people on Twitter just saying, "Hey, I'm like starting out my journey. Like, can you give me advice?" And I remember this one guy gave me one word answer, and he said patience. And I couldn't internalize that as when I was first starting out trading, but now trading for a handful of years, like it's so important, like in every aspect of trading. And Bruce Covener in Market Wizards, he's a billionaire. He like preached so much in his chapter, trade less, trade less, trade less. And because you can go back and look at your trades in the year, and I guarantee you everyone would agree that there's so many trades that you look back on is like, what was I doing there? Or what was I thinking? So trying to eliminate that. And I think that first starts from making a criteria of what you look for in a trade. And then when you're looking at something, is that criteria being met?
That is which chapter did you say again?
That was Bruce Covener. I forget. He's an older, that's an older one, but I forget what book he was in, but yeah, it's a good one. Not many people talk about him. He ran a big hedge fund. But yeah, he had some great gold nuggets. And that Amrit Saul too, the unicorn sniper. I
I was
mean,
just gonna bring him up. Yeah.
amazing, amazing, amazing chapter. I like
I
it's
mean, I
just
think that's my favorite one.
yeah, it's one of my favorites too. Um, and another topic of patience is I was at the Jason Shapiro was at he was at the this conference I was at in Fort Lauderdale, and his presentation was just amazing. Like he since April, like he said he's made like maybe like three or four trades, and one was longing the April low, and then when his system told him to get out, stuff like that. And like to me, that was like this is like a 20-year veteran in the markets that I think he's been green every single year, and that just shows like how important patience is,
Oh,
especially coming from a
dude,
guy like
Shapiro
that.
stats are unbelievable.
They're
Like
insane.
they're kind of mind-boggling. Like
Yeah.
he said he hasn't had like I think more than like a 15% year like terms of returns, and I think he said in like the last 20 years he hasn't had a drawdown more than like 5%. It was
that is
insane. And
that
he
is
just
right.
plays the turns, right? Like
Exactly.
he'll
So
like find like a, you go ahead, please.
yeah, so he doesn't, it's all he does. So he looks for like the S&P 500 April low. It was super heavily shorted. You kind of had a news failure. So he looks for one caught data to be extremely offsides. Then he looks for a news failure, and that's his signal to get into the trade. He said he buys it on the close, his stops that low of the day, and then he gets out when the positioning flips. So like he sold like he's not like saying like, okay, I have the low on the S&P 500, I'm going to try out the 50-day moving average. No, like none of that factors in. It's when the COT data flips. And that's all he does. And I think it's pretty amazing how ruthlessly he follows his system. Nothing else matters.
Oh, so ruthless.
Yes.
Like he gave some examples on that recent podcast with Caruso about like a trade that like set up a news failure, but like the COT data didn't show crowded
The
positioning.
coffee.
So yeah, the
Hmm.
coffee. Yeah, he bought the October CPI low on the
Yeah,
S&P.
I remember that. That's when I learned about him. That was, yeah. And he said, because he trades like some of these setups, depending on where he can get, he trades them with like huge size because his
Oh
trade
yeah.
frequency is low. So like if he gets this, depending on like where the low of the day is on his stop, and someone asks him, is like, how do you like deal with the volatility? And he just said, like, I just put my stop in and I don't watch. And that's what he said. And so I thought that was kind of
Yeah,
cool.
he's the type of guy he needs like one good trade to make his year.
Yeah,
And he said he
exactly.
gets a whole bunch of like shit from like, people who subscribe to his stuff about like you should trade more. Like why don't you trade more? And he said, the difference is, I'll be here 30 years later and you probably won't.
Right.
Pretty
Right.
much was
And
his response. Yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome. I love him.
yeah, no,
Dude,
that
you've been
stuff's
able to meet
good.
a lot of like really awesome people in the trading world. Like I'm kind of jealous of like every time I feel like I bring someone up to you, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, he's great. I had, dinner with him the other night."
Yeah.
I'm
Dude,
like, "What?"
I was bummed because I had the flu last week, but Christian Flanders was in South Florida, so we had dinner
He was in
planned for
Miami, right? I
Monday.
saw the
Yeah.
picture with Leaf. Yeah.
Yeah, so I booked the reservation for that place, but I had the flu and I had to cancel. I was really bummed.
Who'd you say is like one of your like favorite like idols that or like even just experiences meeting of so far?
Um, let's see. Well, I will say Jason Shapiro, he was he's hilarious in person, like, and
Oh,
he's
I
just
bet.
he's the most nonchalant guy. Like, for example, like, right, he's giving a presentation, everyone's got a suit on. He rocks in with a band. Like, this is his personality. He's very authentic in who he is, but he had a band t-shirt ripped in the back, shorts and Crocs on, and like that's just like who he is. Like, it's just
Yeah, I
and he's
saw him wearing
super funny.
Crocs in the presentation he was giving.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he looks like my
Um,
Um,
uncle.
yeah, yeah. That's a tough question. I mean, it was super cool meeting Charles Harris. He was always kind of like an idol of mine. Like I just love the way he trades. Um,
Hey, would you agree with this? This is something we talk about a lot because we've been able to interview some like awesome traders in like the in the community and stuff like Cal Flanders, you name it.
yeah,
And I feel like one of like the most common like denominator among all of them is like how just how humble they are.
absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
insane. It's insane how humble these guys are. Like I didn't expect it like at all. Like they say like the cliche like never meet your heroes, right?
Mhm.
And then like I
Yeah.
kind of was scared of that at first, and then they just like blew my expectations away. Like every time.
Yeah, no, that's why I think they're all such good traders is because yeah, they're haven't met one like with an ego or that, acted like they're too good. Um, yeah, it's just so true.
Hey, I know you don't like obviously like to try to like make big calls, and it's not the time to like be a hero right now. But like honestly, if you had to like give us some thoughts on like your take right now on the market, like what are you thinking? Like we don't care if you end up being wrong. Like just straight up, like what are you thinking of? What you've been seeing lately and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Big picture, it's there's a lot of conflicting signals and it's hard to have conviction in like anything right now. But I don't think I don't think there's an AI bubble first. I think there was a bubble in certain aspects of the market. I think Oklo was a bubble at the highs. I think Rigetti was a bubble at the highs, and all these are coming down to earth. So like that like I think that's actually good for the market. Like no revenue, like this was gonna happen. It was just a matter of when. One thing that concerns me, like I'm not too fond of like charts like Palantir, right? Big AI leader. To me, this is just I just don't see this like I'm not sure where this goes. Like it's been on a huge run off the lows. A typical market leader, I think it's like six beat and raise quarters or something. I think this checks that box. It's just been on an enormous run. So like I think like a name like this is needs some more time to chop around. Like Credo's another one. That's another like big AI winner that just it's just an ugly chart. It's very choppy. It has a lot of characteristics of a stage three top, but again, like I'm not sure if that's going to happen. So I think like the merchandise has kind of been like low. A lot of the leaders that led for majority of the AI bull market are kind of like gonna chop around for a while. We've obviously seen some new leadership like healthcare, Eli Lilly. Again, it's super extended now. Like it's not in a position to buy anymore. Um, BE looks pretty good. I'm watching that to get back into that one. But again, like it's just like super choppy. Like you can just look at that chart and see like how much frustration. And I was looking back at some of like the growth tops in 2021. And this is the type of action that you get in a stage three top. Like I don't know if any of these are in stage three tops, but this is how a stage three top acts. You get super erratic price action, bulls and the bears lose, fouled breakouts, fouled breakdowns, all that stuff. But again, this is an at the 50 days, so like I think this one looks like better than most, and it's still kind of building higher lows. I just think it needs some more time. Iron's another one that needs some more time, but again, no denying that that's been a leader, but it's
Yeah,
just
no, to that, yeah, I think these are really interesting because one thing Christian Flanders mentioned when he had talked a bit ago, he said, and he studied the .com run and 2020 and stuff like that, and he talked about how a lot of these recent like fresh new leaders, like your BE, your Irene and stuff, none of them have formed any secondary bases yet, right? They all
right.
came out of primary bases. And
Yeah.
like, if this market I think were to get like, 98, 99 kind of crazy and we do enter some like crazier run than we've already seen, like there were some stocks back then that built out like really wide secondary bases that maybe weren't the prettiest as far as their tightness, but they ended up making like much further moves. Like these really did only come out of primary bases, so seeing how they set up in the coming, like, to me these look like months, honestly,
Exactly.
will be really interesting. And I think as you get further into that base, you're going to be able to start to tell if it's giving the characteristics of a secondary base or, like you said, a stage three top, and maybe that's all they have for now,
Yeah. Yeah, like because
because if you put
iron's a
on a
lot
leg chart here, yeah, I mean, this is, yeah,
Iron's a lot different than like a Palantir because Palantir started it's like the big
exactly.
base breakout was kind of like even buying it at four like you could say just say 40. That was like when it took out that big base. So like this one's been on a decent run. Same with like a Credo. Credo kind of broke. Yeah. Funny thing about Credo, like years ago, I remember I was long this thing at like 16, $17 and remember it gapped down like 40% overnight when
You've
there
talked
was
to a few
news.
people now that have gotten hit on this thing
Yeah.
from that gap
Yeah.
down.
In
Feb 2023.
2023. And it's like, yeah, it's crazy like what the stock has become since that. But yeah, like Credo's another one that just to me like it's kind of had like most of its move, but like BE and Iron, they're more fresh to me. You know, even Sandus is like more fresh as well. Like this move started, this year. Um, some other ones like Light's another leader. I don't like
Yeah.
I like how this one's acting quite a bit. I still like all the memory names, Western Digital. GEV's another base that I like. I traded that one a lot out of the, pre DeepSeek. I held that one for a while and then also off the April low. But this one like looks really good. No signs of stage three. Like that would be a name that I would focus on if the market starts to get better. Some other thoughts, some of these rare earth stocks look like they're bottoming out. One thing I noticed today in some of these speculative sectors is, some of these have the look of like they want to stop going down. Like LEU is another favorite stock of mine. That's not rare earths, but that's nuclear. But like again, like that reclaimed 250 today pretty nicely. And like I like the look of that one as well. So we'll see. It's so hard to make a prediction, especially where we're at right now. But I don't think that there's an AI bubble. I think the market might be closer to a bounce than many think. Like a lot of sentiment's gotten pretty bad. People are pretty bearish. I mean, look at the Mag 7. Like I tweeted this morning about like what bubble, like Meta's up like 6% this year. Like it's not like there's been some
I saw
insane
that
moves
post. I couldn't
in.
believe that actually that Meta was up 6% only in the year. That's crazy.
Yeah. And then, if it's and then you look at RSP is flat, it's flat. Like the 1 year return is flat. I mean, it's just horrible. QQEW, NASDAQ equal weight's been awful. IWM at this point should probably be delisted. We know that's been garbage. So yeah, and even like if you look at like S&P 500% of stocks above the 20, 50, and 200 day, just some of those metrics, it's like they've been steadily declining for a while now. So yeah, I mean,
I
it's
think one important thing you mentioned there in the beginning part of that answer was the lack of fresh merchandise. And I think that is what made you talked about how you did a lot better this time around at keeping profits than January and February of 25.
yeah,
And I don't know how many people remember the time, but at this time, there were actually a lot of stocks breaking out of like bases into highs. Like if you look at a firm at the time, like gapped up on earnings through this high, you look at like a DOCN or like a DOX was like gapping up, had like an EP on earnings. There was like actually a lot of stocks like attempting to move at the time, and I think a lot more people got trapped because of that. Whereas this time it really felt like there was like nothing besides mega cap tech and maybe like a Palantir or something like that, which even then was not even like the nicest base. So I think that made it a lot
exactly.
easier. And I did make a comparison of this weekly chart on the Qs being similar into the 20 MA as like the first pullback in 2020.
Yep.
But Dark also made a good point about how like if you go look at the individual like stock landscape at the time, which I went back and I did later in the day, and there were like so many fresh like tech IPOs, like a net and stuff, and like to really
Uh-huh.
like bring the market higher. It kind of feels like now like the stocks that cause this run up are gonna need to be responsible for the next leg up again. Like I
Yeah.
don't see much fresh merchandise out there. It's a really good point you make, and I think one of the biggest
Mhm.
things, and as you said about everything's really like um, conflicting. Like I follow all the the sentiment surveys, all the indicators. I have
Mhm.
a market health spreadsheet and stuff, and
Yep.
I've been saying in the chat like, dude, everything's split. Everything's giving different
Exactly.
signals, and everyone's talking about the AAII like I have. So is that going to mean anything if everyone's looking? I mean, probably not. So it's so conflicting right now, and I agree. It's I said it earlier this week. It's really hard to like get conviction in anything, at least for me right now.
Right. Yeah, but and again, like I was just looking at my list as you were talking, there's still like a lot of stuff like looks pretty good, like PWR. That
Mhm.
chart looks good. Intel looks decent to me as well. This Tower Semiconductor, TSEM, that's just hanging out at the highs with no give back whatsoever. Yeah, yeah, sorry.
ASML.
Teradyne, yeah, ASML, Teradyne that had that earnings gap. They got a huge robotics, TER. They got a huge robotics angle, right? Held gap day
Yeah.
lows. Um,
I almost bought that today.
Yeah, we were
Yeah,
talking
so
about that
I
today.
I I
I think I
bought the
bought it.
gap on that.
Huge base. Whoa.
Yeah, I had the gap on Teradyne, and I ended up selling it for break even. Just it was weakening, but that's one like I
Where you rebuying this? I almost bought today on the undercut. And reclaimed yesterday's high. I was a little bit iffy just because of, like you said, current market conditions, my recent trades. But
yeah. I would, well, I think today was a good entry. Kind of like holding near those gap day lows. I would look for, I like using those high volume close pivot.
Mhm.
So the close of the earnings day was about like almost about 174. So I'd watch it there. Like if it could shoot back up to there, like put in a tight day or something, that'd be nice. But yeah, this they had a huge guide, and like Bracco showed, like this has got like a multi-year base. So and the catalyst was earnings. So I like this name a lot. Like this would be like a what I would classify as like new merchandise that
Yeah.
potentially could go if the market starts to turn around. XMTR, that's another one. I
Yeah.
have that on my watch list. That looks pretty good. Google trying to break out into new highs. That it did put in a big upper wick today. Let's see, REMX, I like that as well. ALB, I've been watching ALB for a while, and
Yeah.
I just couldn't get in. But this thing's super strong. It's got a
I got
huge.
into I got I've got a chunk of this that I bought right around September 25th, September
Oh,
24th,
nice,
right in there. They actually nailed this lithium trade pretty damn well so far.
nice.
Dude, I think these look great. This is one of the best groups. I mean, LAR is a little
Yeah,
bit, smaller of a name, but
it looks really good.
yeah, I mean, if this, maybe forms like a nice little flag, I wish I would have got in, closer to 420 or something.
Tons of volume. It looks
Yeah,
just
Oh
like
yeah.
those rare earths before they went. Look, this looks
yeah,
like what MP was doing early on, or what was the other one? Like, yeah, like TMC or something.
yeah. There was a
Yeah.
lot. Um, uh, yeah, like Frog's another one. I'm just looking at my watch list. Like that's like an earnings continuation setup. We'll see if they work, but there's still a good amount of names like APH. That's another one I track. That's got an AI
Yep.
angle that nice look. So I'm not struggling to find stocks, but it's just question is, are they some are in like tough positions to get into. TTMI is another one. Came across this one over the weekend. This thing has been a monster. Never really seen it.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
yeah. So you
Dude,
see,
Connor,
This
you
reminds
should
me of
check out the
CLS.
you should check out the broader watch list post. There's usually like 70 or 80 stocks
I
on
I
the
do
Sundays.
I do check it out, and it's
Nice.
it's usually like so similar to mine. It's
Nice. I
it's similar. How you do it is very similar to how I do it. What I say, like I every weekend I create that big watch list, and
mm,
that's like kind of like the list that I scroll through throughout the day, like just stuff I want to know what they're doing. A lot of them probably like aren't even like going to be in focus to buy, but I want to see
yep.
what they're doing just for market health and stuff like that. Um, AMD is another one. I like how this one's building out. Um, so we'll see. So I say like you always have to have your list ready. I don't think oil and gas stocks are going to lead. I think this is just where people are trying to hide while tech pulls back. Like energy, oil, there needs to be a big catalyst, in my opinion, to keep going. And if oil and gas stocks are going to actually go on a monster run, then tech's going to be,
We're screwed.
yeah, tech's going to get crushed. Um,
You
but
eyeing any of this Snowflake or MDB or Twilio?
yeah, I like MDB. I like all those. Just kind of what we've been saying is just they're just choppy right now, you know?
Yeah,
But no, I like MDB a lot. Like that earnings gap was highest volume ever, I think.
it was.
Yeah.
In Snowflake, I feel like I've been eyeing the stage one base for like 3 years now. But
15 years, right?
yeah, it's finally starting to work. But no, yeah, like Snowflake, like that weekly base is like I love it. Um, so we'll see. It's just I would kind of prefer to like start to see some of these things work, and that would be a good indication. There's some but there's a lot of bad charts too. Like Costco looks like a stage four, maybe it gets a stick stave here. Some of the other like consumer discretionary stocks too, like Sprouts Farmers Markets. If you want to study stage analysis, these are like mod SFM. These are like model book stage analysis. So it's definitely mixed. I mean, but I can still find some stuff. Like my watch list is still pretty big, and still monitoring good amount of names to be honest.
ANF too. That's from 2025 or 2024. That's like
Yeah.
the cleanest.
Yeah. Oh, so clean.
You've been
I'm
tweeting a bit about China. Are you a member of the CCP?
well, I like China a lot and I got stopped out of so I traded Baba twice. So my first trade on Baba, I bought it September 5th. So I bought that continuation. So I I rode that one. You know, I sold some in strength and then I sold the rest um on 1010, I think. And then I I tried it again as it started to like round back up and then I got stopped out. I tried Baidu as well, got stopped out. I tried X I had XPEP too.
Dude, that was dirty.
Dirty. I had it like low, like 23-ish on that breakout. And I mean, I'm taking the setup all day though, regardless,
Yeah.
but it just got rejected and I sold that for like break even. So yeah, no, I like the story a lot on China. There's a lot of things pointing for like continued upside, but charts don't agree. So I still like the idea, but I'll just revisit it when those charts look better. But you
Yeah,
know,
they're close. I mean, Bob was close. You get a nice weekly candle, with possibly some sort of catalyst to get up there. You form a daily high tide flag on that. That's
yeah,
one of the best
yeah,
bases, one of the best charts in the market.
the weekly still looks great. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's had two really good moves. I remember Bracco, you were trading this one, that January to February this year, like that was a really nice move. And then it chopped around for a while. And then recently, the September after its earnings gap, that was a pretty clean move too. So yeah, I'm optimistic. I think it'll probably set up again, but just probably need some more time.
Dude, a lot of the international looks. I mean, our ARGT. I mean, my
Yeah.
problem with this group is ARGT is a little bit is melee focused. They've got Kilikai in the group. He's been all over these for quite some time, but melee is about 20% of ARGT specifically.
Okay.
And then the liquidity in the other names is just a little light. YPF is the best.
Yeah.
GGAL kind of a
Yeah,
little bit
that
of
one's
trouble.
decent.
PAM is one I've
Yeah.
been tracking out of ARGT.
That's a utility, right?
Yeah,
That's what I thought. Yeah.
CEP. So there's some international ones that are standing out. Something that I'm, closely monitoring myself.
Yeah, no, I'm watching those too. Yeah, like a lot of these emerging markets have gone on pretty big moves. I'm just trying to think like I know Greece has been on a big move, GREK or yeah, just stuff like that. Like so a lot of these emerging markets have made some pretty big moves. EWI, that's Italy. Yeah.
Mhm.
Now ah, I'd rather just focus on the next TML, but I do try to if these are the only games in town, I will play. But again, that's another thing is, sometimes I found that trying to be the guy that looks for every bit of sector rotation and
Mhm.
sometimes it's just short-lived. And so sometimes it's better to just have your list of stocks and be ready for them. Um, yeah.
It's actually super underrated advice right there.
It's so hard. I don't think I've
Yeah.
ever done it ever, like at least successfully.
It is hard.
Besides going to like China.
Yeah. Especially with the oil and gas names now, like it's just what are you going to get out of them? I could be totally wrong and these become like go on a run like they did when growth topped in 20 for the 2022 bear, like when energy went on a run, but we'll see. I think there needs to be a catalyst there versus just like a chart says, but they do have huge bases. Like EQT is another one that I
yeah,
watch, but again, these are just horrible trading stocks. Like they're
yeah.
probably best to be bought when they look horrible because then you're in low for when that if that rotation happened, you're not chasing it. But
Yeah,
I'm
exactly. That's what we were
spent,
talking about. I think that's what I said to Ariel because Ariel talked about this when he came on with us the other day,
yep,
and I was saying that like the time to be like buying these is like when all the growth stocks were the hottest in middle of October. And by the time like you
Exactly.
recognize the rotation, it's too late to buy these names at the tops of the range and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like skating to where the puck is going, not, not after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, BE's going up 15% every day. Who's gonna say I'm gonna go buy, XOM at 110?
Yeah. What
Yeah.
an idiot. Who would do that?
Yeah, not me.
Yeah. Did you buy that TSDR?
Yeah. I was bored.
Yeah.
Well,
All
not in
right.
October, but I
Oh,
mean
not in
this week.
October. No,
I meant
yeah,
like
yeah.
buying it in October when everyone's trading OKLO and they're
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
right.
no, never.
No one's even looking at it because
no,
everyone
but that's the time to
is,
buy them if you're going to try them, which
yeah,
Hey, I did
exactly.
my service to the market. We're gapping up 1% after hours. You're welcome, everybody.
There we go. Yeah, crypto is another area of the market that, I mean, it's
dude, crazy.
talk about news reversals, right? Bitcoin bottomed when FTX blew up, and it topped when it's just all sunshine and rainbows. We have the
Mhm.
best administration ever. They're so supportive of crypto, and look at how it topped. And yeah, we'll see. I mean, it just looks really bad, but
How's Ted doing?
yeah,
I'm just kidding. I'm just
he
kidding.
definitely changed tone. He
Good.
absolutely changed tone. But yeah, I mean, I traded
Hey, I respect
Ethereum
the
was
hell out of it, dude. I respect anyone who's willing to like make a call like that. I mean, the chart looked good. You
yeah,
Oh,
can't like
yeah.
you
so
can't call him
good.
out for that. But I respect him like putting his neck out there, like pounding the table on it, even if it didn't work. Because when it does
Mhm.
work, like here in October of last year, you're gonna make your quarter in one trade.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
right. Yeah, it was a pretty. It's going to be interesting to see if it can start to find some footing here soon. But yeah, I think Bitcoin's red on the year now.
Yeah, it's at
Yeah.
a really big spot. This 92K spot we've been talking about like all week, and obviously MSTR has been like literally, I mean, just capitulating huge volume today.
Yeah,
This
that could
thing.
be setting up for a snapback. I mean, yesterday I made a tweet. I thought that kind of Bitcoin was showed a little bit of RS and potentially was showing some signs of bottoming out, but broke lows today. Mm.
Connor, you're the man. What is um what is one just like very straightforward piece of advice to give a trader in the Uncharted Territory Discord community who's on here listening right now?
Um, hmm.
Or you're looking at Connor from 2021 in the mirror or 2022. What are you telling yourself so you can be better then?
Honestly, I would say like it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? Like we want to trade for the next 50 years. So, if you miss a trade, you mess up, just like brush it off and get on to the next one. Um, and yeah, it shouldn't it doesn't have to be all or nothing. So it kind of ties in with being patient, but yeah, just have a vision of the long term and not be too fixated on, day to day and just kind of have a long-term vision.
I would give the exact same answer.
Yeah,
But you're
because I sorry, go ahead.
nope, you.
Because I think new traders, like when they start, it's just so common. Like everyone wants to come into the market and get rich, but the reality is just that's really not going to happen. And if it does, you're going to get humbled eventually. So it's like just, you're learning a skill for life. So don't rush it. And do the right things and learn properly, have proper risk management. You know, just stay in the game and as time passes new opportunities will come and yeah, just be patient. I'm really bad at wording that, but that's kind of how I'm
No,
trying to
that
get
was that was
across
that was,
there.
Percent.
that was
Study the power of compounding and drawdowns.
Exactly.
You'll understand what he means.
20 years from now, Connor Bates is the world known market wizard, the market wizard of the past decade.
Hedge
What'd you
fund
do?
market wizards part two.
What'd you do to get there?
I read Sunday Scans by
There we
TLC
go.
and
Perfect
Rocco.
answer. Perfect answer.
No, I just think um just trying to get better every day, do something that can help. Like that's how you're gonna get better. And like that's kind of approach every day with a goal in mind, whether that be mark up one big winning chart. It's Lance, like Lance is just an amazing guy. Actually, Eric, Bracco, that'd be one guy that I would say that I've met. That's really cool. But Lance talks about it all the time. Just try to get a little bit better every day, and that just compounds. And that's hopefully what I can continue doing. You know, delivering positive returns, doing well in the markets, enjoying the process, and having fun with it.
Yeah, well said. That was great that that Ackman interview post. I think Ted posted it. I saw it from about the 1%, personal growth and
That was
getting
great.
better every day.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
hey, chat needs to know, have you ever interacted with Short Bear?
Yeah, so I met Lucas in Miami. Um, all right, like if I said like who I felt like when I met like an all-star trader that I met that like okay, Lucas has absolutely no ego. Like I'm not gonna say it, but like I know like Lucas is like his accomplishments are out of this world, like incredible. And he's so nice. He's like this 6'7" German guy. Um, yeah, he's so tall. But yeah, I met him in Miami at one of like Lance's events. And funny thing is, I went up to him and I was like, hey Lucas, like I'm a huge fan of your stuff. Like, just so thankful for everything you provide. Like, I don't know if you guys ever read, but he has a Substack also. He doesn't promote it, but I read all his posts like a month ago. So if you guys are ever bored, go to his Substack. It's all free. He has like a bunch of good educational content. Like he did write-ups on a bunch of the market wizards and best traders that are really good.
Dude, I have them
But
all in my notes. I don't think anybody really even knows about them.
yeah, I've read every single
It's
one
like
of
in his
them.
link tree, I think, if you can find it.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. But yeah, no, I met Lucas and it was funny. He was saying like he said, he was thanking me. He's like, I just love your Twitter. He's like, I love your post, yada yada yada. But nah, it was really cool meeting a
That was
trader
cool seeing
back.
him interact with you on Twitter saying you're one of his favorite follows. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that was
Yeah, I
probably
mean,
one of the coolest.
he has to be one of like the most humble guys. I mean, you could just feel it in like the
Mhm.
content that he provides. And it's so cool too because he's like one of those traders who's really like made a fortune and
Oh yeah.
hasn't, gone on to, say, sell anything or do any of this content stuff. He
No.
is like a diehard trader.
Oh,
You know
he
what I
he
mean? He is like a trader. That's what he lives for. He lives for the speculation and he still shares his trades. He still makes his calls, right or wrong, like all
yeah.
the time. It's just like you
And
don't see traders make it like and like still do that these days. That's like a
no.
passion.
I respect it so much because one, like read his Twitter posts, like you can see how much time and effort he puts into these ideas. And then I think it was last week he tweeted, what were some of the best opportunities? I'm doing a weekend review, and it's like, a guy like Short Bear, obviously you never want to, you always have to strive to get better, but like a guy like this who you could say he's made it, but he's still doing the work, and that's the reason why he's been so successful. And yeah, when I met him, like he just no ego whatsoever, a super down to earth guy. And I even think like he asked me a question or two, which I'm like, man, like,
Dude, what?
yeah, why are you
Yeah.
asking me
I mean,
something?
dude, he
Like,
tweets and posts and talks and works as hard as if like he's trying to get over PDT.
yeah,
It's insane. It's unbelievable. Like
it's incredible.
it's awesome. But that's so cool you
It's
got to
not a
meet him.
coincidence, I don't think.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I've DM'd him like I've reached out to him on every possible social like anything you can imagine, and I can't get a response out of him. But I swear, like for you guys, I will get him on one day for an interview. It
I
will
mean,
happen.
I could ask him. I don't like talk to him per se. Like I met him, we interact on Twitter. We never talk in the DMs, but if I talk to him, I'll ask him for you guys, see if he'd come on. I mean,
Please put in a good word for us,
I
man. Because dude, there's been like one talk with him ever on Chat with Traders after like 2020, and
yeah,
like there's nothing since. And I'm like, dude, this is a guy that like people need to hear from more.
yeah. Absolutely. That's why I'm his Market Wizards chapter. Like
I'm so
that
excited.
Market Wizards, like it's gonna be so good. Short Bear, Qual McGee, Lance, even another guy on X, I don't know. It's Trader STL. He's gonna be in the new Market
Yep.
Wizards too. I've watched some of his interviews, pretty interesting. Yeah, that one's gonna be
Is
so
he
good.
he's not the is he the fully anonymous one, or we still don't know who that is?
No, we won't know.
We don't.
He said we won't. I mean, they won't give it
Yeah,
away. He
no,
wants
no,
to stay
he's
anonymous.
not anonymous.
Okay.
We'll never know the anonymous person.
Yeah,
But
I mean, okay, obviously,
I
yeah.
think I saw a tweet too from Jack Schwager. I think he said that like Lucas Short Bear is like the most impressive track record I think he said he's seen or up there. Because especially because Lucas is pretty young. I want to say he's like 26, 27. Like he's a young dude. I mean, he started trading at 13. So that's I don't know how you get into trading at 13, but he did.
Yeah, he did say
He's one of the
Short
most,
Bear
I think,
was.
just incredible people that that we get the pleasure of
Yeah.
hearing real time thoughts
Yeah,
from.
it is amazing. Yeah, you can Twitter's such a good place if you curate your following to the right people. Like, I mean, some people say it noise, but I try to follow the only the people that bring value. And man, I find so much value in it. I feel like I'm bookmarking a tweet every day of just something that I'm learning from and I want to look back on and study.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I love it. I love this stuff. Um, Connor, man, you gonna get Revere to a billion soon?
That's the goal. That's the goal.
Let's go. Let's go, man. Well, Connor, I'll call you later to say goodnight, like I usually do. But Brocco, if you've got anything else tonight,
No, I got nothing else to ask. I think we got everything asked that I wanted to ask. So, but thank you so much for coming on. Seriously.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Like I was talking to you guys earlier, and yeah, I think what you have is amazing. You're teaching people how to fish, and I was telling TSDR and Bracco for the viewers that I love looking at your guys' channels. Tons good information. I think it's amazing how you guys bring people on weekly. Like like what other Discord is the people that own it sitting in the evenings, doing workshops, doing videos, doing so I think what you guys do is amazing and bring
thank you.
bring a lot of value and I really enjoy consuming your guys' content as well. So thank you too.
And no, we did not pay him to say that. All right,
No,
guys.
no,
Yeah,
absolutely not.
thank you for coming on. And we'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow for the market-wide NVIDIA earnings reaction. So, yeah, thanks for coming on, Connor. This was recorded. It'll be posted for anyone who joined late or missed any parts of it. I think it's already posted in the channel from Steph. Yep, it already is. So, yeah, we'll see you guys in the morning. Connor, thank you again. And have a good night,
Awesome.
guys.
Thank you guys.